Hi folks, how's it going out there today? Finally back in my recycle shop, believe it or not. And I'm over COVID, I think, for sure. Maybe, but yeah, I feel great. So, today I'm going to continue more on my story, which is part 5 in a few minutes. And also, in front of this video, I'd like to talk about the plans that God made for us. The plans He made for us started a long time ago, even before we were born. And newsflash, He has plans for us this very day until we pass. I would like to ask you a question today. What do you think a full in motion plan from God is? Good question. Of course, I'm answering myself. I think it's when you realize that right before your very eyes, a miracle or God wink or episode happens that changes your life for good. For me, watch this video come up. It's a big deal to me what happened to me in this part 5. I would like to know, how does He know the exact moment that we need something? It's just like wham, it shows up at the last minute sometimes. But, on my recycling table today, there are Bibles, books on the Bible. I do a lot of research on a lot of subjects. In the Bible, I just love it. I love researching and stuff, and in these books. As you look at these today, this very day in 2022, keep in mind that they are cool for reading, but they are all meaningless if you don't have Jesus in your heart. That's what they're for. All of these books boil down to this. Very simple. Right here in this little thing here, it says, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish, but have eternal life." And that's in John 3:16. That's what all this stuff basically boils down to. So moving on with the research, this verse in the book of Esther just popped up a few days ago out of the blue. It's in Esther 4:14. "Perhaps you were born for such a time as this." I'm going to repeat that. Perhaps you were born for such a time as this. Pretty profound. That's a very profound moment. Could be a very profound moment in your life. Tradition has it that the core of the book of Esther was written by Mordecai, and in scrolls, basically, and transferred to the Bible later. Esther was confronted with this time in her life as queen. It was her time in history to be a queen. And you should read the book of Esther in the Bible. It's pretty interesting. For us, the time can be paramount as well as a full in motion plan from God. A couple more scriptures here. Means stuff to me here today. In Romans 8:28, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to His purpose." And 2 Corinthians 9:8, "And God is able to bless you abundantly so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work." So back to current day stuff, these scriptures that I've highlighted are very important in my life, probably as well as in your life. Now the things that were planned by God for us will start, or has already started in motion in your life when you change, or you have changed your life when you give or gave Him your heart and decide to follow Him through Jesus. This will change your life beyond your imagination, believe me. Perhaps you were born for such a time of a day in your life for your salvation. That's very important. The day of your salvation will make the angels sing in heaven for you. Okay, so here's part 5. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you next Sunday. Hello and high fives out there to everybody. My name is Jack Jennings and this is my story. I had to make some sort of a deal, hopefully. What would any or all of you do if someone offered you 170 major appliances? Hi folks, thank you for joining me for part 5 here of my story. I wanted to mention back in part 4, that the neighbor to neighbor people, I'd love to give them a shout out right now. Some of the best places in the whole country as far as in Fort Collins. Just great people to try to help others. And I mentioned to them at the time that I was salvaging, and then they said that they had a few non-working appliances that needed hauled off if I wanted them. And I did, I got them, plus other salvage in the neighborhood at that time for a little while. I kept a kind of a steady flow of monies just through the end of March and through the first week of April. And in the first week of April, I received a call from neighbor to neighbor, and they said, they wanted to know if I'd be interested in a few appliances. And I said, sure, that's no problem. I'd pick a few of them up. I don't care. And they said, okay, we'll send you a plan where and when to pick them up. And I said, okay. So I received an email from them, and I saw this plan, and I started saying, can this be true? I mean, what? Thank you, Jesus, over and over and over, because this is a math alert again. You'll love me for that, I'm sure. So the tease is, when I left part 4, what would you do if someone gave you 170 used major appliances? The ranges, refrigerators, and dishwashers that worked. The Greenbrier Rental Complex that Neighbor to Neighbor controls in Fort Collins has 60 units. And they received a government grant for all new, more efficient ranges, refrigerators, and dishwashers. That's 180 appliances, of which they were going to give me 170 of them, the used ones. Wow, I could not believe that. The plan was to remove the appliances for the 10 units per day, which is 30 appliances per day, for 5 days. And on the 6th day they cut me a break, I only had to remove 20 appliances. Here's a guy, me, getting 170 appliances. Yeah, all cleaned and spotless. That was I could not believe it. They had them cleaned and they were spotless for me. I just couldn't believe it. Reality check. My van could hold maybe 6 appliances at the most. Finding a place for them was another reality check. Here I'm dragging this wonderful miracle, and I'm dragging around figuring out, well, what am I going to do with these things? You can't just set them outside. More math. Get ready. I'm sure some of you dislike this, but I just feel that this common sense math is essential in our everyday life. Maybe it's fun for the kids, I hope. So each range and refrigerator that I was getting was, 2.5 foot wide and 2 foot deep. So how many square foot is that? What's the square footage of that? So it's 2.5 times 2 is 5 square feet. Pretty simple, okay? I hope you got that one. Okay, next one up. The dishwashers are 2 foot by 2 foot. How many square foot is that? 2 foot times 2 foot basically is 4 square feet. You got that one, okay? So I was getting 60 ranges plus 50 refrigerators. That's 110 appliances, and each are 5 square feet. Now, 110 times 5 square feet, you got it, 550 square feet. There you go, you're on a roll here. So 60 dishwashers at 4 square feet, 60 dishwashers times 4 square feet, 240 square feet, if you got that one. So we have 550 square feet plus 240, right, 790 square feet with no walking room between them. That's 800 square feet if you put all of them together side by side. Believe me. Now there's a method to my madness here. I needed at least a 1,200 square foot warehouse just for the appliances and walking room in between them. That's the end of the math class. I know that you love me now. Details. I know sometimes it's boring when I expand a little bit too much on the events, but I feel that they're really important to my story because a lot of folks sometimes say that the evil one is in the details, or the devil's in the details, which is true. Perhaps schemed by earthly, dishonest people. What I discovered is our Holy Father has set up a perfect plan for us, me, as we try to walk the path that Jesus sets before us. A plan was unfolding in our past the entire time as we move into the future. That was the real details. Now, these are the next things that happened. This is a full in motion rolling plan from my Holy Father, because I was back at my little warehouse, that little 10 by 15 warehouse, right then. I mean, there was plumb full. I couldn't put one dishwasher in there. Where can I put these appliances again? I did not have thousands of dollars to rent a building. I didn't know what I was going to do. So all of a sudden, I'm just sitting there basically with my hand, my head in my hands, just praying away for something to happen. All of a sudden across the street, in a good-sized warehouse, I hear all kinds of commotion. This man's throwing pieces of steel, banging and clanging. U-channel is this stuff right here. It's just U-channel. And he was yelling, not cussing, but he was having a really bad moment. I could tell my heart felt out for him. So what I did is I went over to ask him. I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "No, these marijuana growers just left everything a mess as the city of Fort Collins voted them out, and they were evicted by the sheriff's department." So he started showing me the warehouse. This was continuous mold all around the lower 4 foot of the entire warehouse, everywhere, just this ugly mold everywhere. And there were large piles of dirt and trash everywhere, including 50 rolling racks with that U-channel with these industrial 5-inch wheels, rubber wheels, expensive stuff. And all the utilities were turned off by the city. No lights, no power. The sheriff's department had a big bright red evidence dumpster there. It's that evidence, you weren't even supposed to get near it. That's another story. Where they put all the removed plants, but left the building in a horrible disarray just awful. He said to me, "I don't have time to deal with this right now." He had hired a couple of guys to take care of it and clean it up. They didn't work out. Matter of fact, he fired them and just told them, "Get out of here. I don't want you around here anymore." That's the end of part 5. So a light comes on in my head. What happens next? Tune in for the story. Part 6. Thanks. Thank you so much. See you at part 6.
What have we learned so far from watching this video? Number 1, details. God's love for us is the details. Number 2, God laid out His plans for us even before we were born.
If you have questions about recycling your heart, come to the Greeley Vineyard Church or Google the Vineyard USA website and find a church near you. Contact them and there will be someone there to help you.